right, welcome everybody. Welcome to anybody who was waiting to get in. Anybody watching the replay, thanks for coming back and watching. Let me turn my phone off. I always forget to do that. Let's see. All right. Yeah, so as usual, I don't give myself a ton of time to get ready for these things. I just kind of get the feeling to get in the mood to do one, and then just put it up and do it, because I don't ever really know when I'm gonna have time or the energy to go live. But I got some good stuff to talk about today. I think so. I can see my good buddy Pete Grigley's here. I got some new products to sell. No, I'm not selling any products. Don't have any products for sale. I probably never will. Unless they're really gonna offer me like $1 million, then maybe. Let's see. I did hook Facebook up to come on over. A bunch of people from Facebook. So if anybody does come over and they can't seem to figure out how to comment, you have to log in through YouTube to watch this. You won't have the comment option if you're watching from Facebook. But come on in, say hello, kick your feet up, relax. There's no cover charge. There's no rules here. I mean, there's almost no rules here. I got a video I want to watch a little bit of. As usual on YouTube, beekeeping videos are just all over the place. You got your repeat offenders putting out the most horrible, misinforming trash content as usual. And then you got some okay ones. Mine are somewhere in the middle. And the one I want to watch today is from Inside the Hive TV, Humberto Boncristiani. I don't know what his last name. I think it's Humberto Cristiani. If anybody wants to call him up or something, tell him I'm about to come over here and talk about him, you can do that. I don't care. I want to play a video of his that he did the other day. A live stream. Oh man, it was really... It's not very often that you see somebody make themselves squirm and talk themselves into a weird spot. But it was funny for me to watch. And he wouldn't read my comments. So I'm going to have to talk about it here. But yeah, so what the heck? We'll just get right into it. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay awake. What's today? Today is September 23rd, 7:20 p.m. here. Got to get up for work at 4 a.m. But yeah, let me pull this video up. So as usual, I'm going to kind of let the video play a little bit and just constantly stop it every 5 seconds. Every time something weird is said. And a lot of weird stuff is said. So it might be a little choppy. I don't know exactly where the bullshit starts in this video, but I know it's right around the 55-minute mark. So that's where I'm going to start it at. Let's share that. Boop. Let's see, how big is that on the screen? Oh, it's pretty big. What the heck else was I going to say? Yeah, I don't know how I can make that bigger. Let's see. Maybe I can go like that. How does that look? Oh, look at that. Man, that's much better. Am I going to be able to stop that? Let's see. Where's the pause? Oh, okay, there it is. So over at Inside the Hive TV, Humberto, what's up? My sister's in the house. How you doing? You're going to see your brother yakking about some bees here. Sorry, I just ate something spicy. My nose is running. But over on Humberto's channel, he invited an apiary inspector to just talk about whatever. I tuned in very late to this, thank goodness. I don't know what was said before this. I tuned in maybe 5 minutes before this part started. And the apiary inspector seems like a pretty normal guy. But Humberto is struggling with what does he care about? Does he care about bees, or does he only care about the commercial beekeeping industry, or does he care about making? He's always got his Patreon, always trying to raise money for what? I don't know what. To save the bees, I guess. And I think all that the research he focuses on, from what I watch from his videos, is all to help commercial beekeepers. But you know how hobbyists are. They all want to think they're helping out. So he's trying to siphon the money out of little backyard hobbyists like me and most of my viewers to help pay for research to help commercial beekeepers keep the commercial bee business alive at the expense of the bees and never having resistant bees. So we'll hear him say some really weird stuff. Let's play it for a little while.
I would agree.
Which, by the way, do you remember? I think one of my first videos I made about the lithium chloride. I just want to give a little something here because apparently there is something going on there. I'm gonna make a video about that soon. There are developments on that, and it's quite interesting. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. People in Europe is reaching out to it to talk about interesting things about the lithium chloride thing. So, but before I open my mouth, I need to do some verification first. It's always like that. Okay, what else we have here?
Come on, man, let's go. Say something. Where's that next question at?
Let me comment on that.
All right, so here,
I'm not sure they kill.
Let me preface this, or kind of talk about what I remember. Here's where a viewer asks a question, and maybe it was unintentional, but he starts getting them talking about scutellata Africanized bees, what they call killer bees or whatever, and down in South America. And Humberto kind of says some weird conflicting stuff about how some people treat for mites down there and some don't. But most people will tell you that they know for the fact that nobody treats for mites in countries that, like, really extremely poor countries. They never had the money to do it, and the bees all adapted to the mites, and they don't treat to this day. So it's just kind of like a benefit of not having money. Like the rich countries, like, not rich, but countries like the USA and countries in Europe and stuff, we had the money to try to fight it, and we've fought it for 40 years and been losing, while these other countries like Cuba, South Africa, Puerto Rico, they're not all countries, some of them are just regions. Puerto Rico, some parts of Europe, South America, they've never treated their bees, and they don't today. So Humberto is going to try to fit this square into a circle here, and try to explain how somehow in America it would never work, or we just can't do it because we have to save the commercial beekeeper. So which one is it? Would it not work, or would it work? And why won't it work? Or why won't you get behind letting the bees fix it themselves? But let's see. I don't want to blab too much about that.
Because they swarm so easily and they have a lot of hygienic behavior, they're able to suppress the development of varroa. That's the way I see it. And we don't have too much research in Brazil the way we have here, that we can have data the way we have here. It's more about me asking beekeepers what's going on. And also in Brazil, it's funny that beekeepers don't do the same things beekeepers do here. We don't have much time to sit down in a colony, open up, appreciate the beautiful frame. It doesn't work. If you try to see it, you're not gonna see it too. You're gonna have a blockage of bees in your.
Hey, what's up, Ronnie? So what Humberto's doing here, he just pretty much admitted he doesn't have data. He just kind of says what's going on. He's trying to make up these really kind of weird animated reasons why we don't do the same thing. You'll hear it gets a little weird soon after this, but they have the same similar bees in Mexico, Texas, Florida, you name it. They have the same Nevada. They have all these bees in the same places. And yeah, they're a pain to work, but they don't treat them. They've adapted to them. Let's see. So keep in mind they've adapted, so they shouldn't need to be treated. But in a minute, he's going to say some people do treat them down there, so it doesn't make sense.
Our face, so it's hard to identify things. So they just go with sometimes with the instincts. It's fun to see what they're paying attention to, see if the bees have problems or not, because it's not the visual cues that we have here, looking at the brood and the size, and because you can't see it. It's very hard to see it.
That makes me think of people will bring up the feral bees in Arnott Forest that Tom Seeley studied. He knew what the density of colonies were in the Arnott Forest before Varroa and after Varroa, and they were about the same. So people are like, oh, what's going on here? And, a feral colony living in the cavity of a tree is quite different than a colony that's managed for maximum production in a commercial apiary.
Okay. Are they different though? I mean, a lot of people who manage honey bees for maximum honey production still catch swarms, and their bees still breed with those bees. They're not that different. But the one thing I did want to go back to that Humberto said was, and many, many people say, is that since feral bees swarm so much, that's what allows them to survive having mite loads. Now, I somehow came to an epiphany about this. Back when varroa mites first came to the United States, feral bees then are no different than feral bees ever. Any time before that and any time after that. If they supposedly swarm so much now, then that means they also supposedly swarm that much then. There's no evidence to say that they swarm any more now than they did then. So that's a constant there. But you also hear these same people say that all the feral bees were wiped out when the varroa mites first came. So which one is it? Were they wiped out when the varroa mites came here, swarming just as much as they always did? Or does all that swarming only help now today for some strange reason that it didn't help back then? You can't have them both. They either, first you would need evidence to say, in the mid 80s and 90s, feral bees just didn't swarm that much. They just stayed in their tree or their building or whatever they did, and they just didn't swarm. And suddenly now they do, or they swarm more. I don't think there's any evidence for that, and I don't think there will be. So to say that swarming keeps them alive today, it's silly, because it didn't supposedly keep them alive back then. My YouTube's freezing up here for a second. What the heck? Hold on. Why is this thing acting up here?
And while there is the same colony density in the Arnott Forest today as there was before Varroa, if you take a swarm from there and move it into a commercial apiary, it's going to behave like everyone else.
Yeah.
The way that we manage bees for maximum production is great for Varroa, right?
Yep,
So-
that's true, because we need bees and we need more and more bees. And that's one of the divisions I make when I talk to people. I always ask, do you depend on the bees for your own survival, or the bees are a pet for you?
So it gets really weird and insulting here. Humberto, well, first the guy says that the bees, he admits that the way they manage bees for maximum honey production is great for mites, so it's great for killing bees. So they're admitting that they're kind of the problem, and here Humberto kind of goes on a little thing, kind of like carefully insulting the shit out of just hobbyists who while if you took all the hobbyists together and added up all their colonies, maybe it doesn't quite add up to what commercial beekeepers do, but of how many colonies they have. But the numbers of people is, it's 99% hobbyists. So you're talking about a ton of people. But he goes on this weird thing about your pet. Is your bees your pets? Do you give them a little hug? It's really goofy.
Because I shift the conversation completely. If the bees are a pet and just go there and hug the hive, that kind of thing, it is a different conversation. It's not like a beekeeper that depend on the bees for their own survival.
So he's very clearly making the point that the beekeepers who depend on the bees, they're the only people that really matter. That's who he works for. That's who he's trying to raise money to help them, help him. I don't know what that whole relationship is, but it's kind of weird. But yeah, so hobbyists have no voice. They shouldn't be saying anything. You should be talking to just the people who depend on it. Commercial beekeepers.
That's a completely different story.
Yeah, when I'm talking about the importance of a good Varroa management plan, I do say, look, this is for people who are interested in maximum bee health, right? If your goal is maximum bee health, I'm going to tell you how to get there. If your goal is to not spend so much time in the apiary, if you don't mind losing colonies over the winter, you just buy more colonies, you don't need to listen to this. It depends on what your priority is. But if your priority is maximum bee health, I think a good Varroa management plan is super important.
So there it is again. Treaters always confusing maximum bee health, which is they confuse that with humans removing all obstacles from the bees. So it's just like I used the example last time, someone going to the gym and people just lifting all the weights for you and doing everything for you and cooking for you, and you're just a helpless thing that does one thing. So if you want to maximize your bee, the one thing the bees do is make the honey. You want to do every possible other thing to keep them alive. You're just basically, that's all you care about is honey and money and this commercial mindset. And if he's an apiary inspector, yeah, I guess he does inspect commercial apiaries, but he probably inspects a ton more smaller beekeepers. But let's see.
One thing that comes to mind, there was something that I see in the past, and I never saw it again. But I saw some instances where some colonies in very isolated places, they have plenty of Varroa, and the colonies were fine for a long time. And when I tested those colonies in the lab, it didn't happen many of the time, but that's something that I always keep in the back of my mind, is that in some of those colonies that have high Varroa and they were fine, I have very little viruses at the time, or almost nothing. You don't find that anymore. So it always...
Yeah, see, so there's where I think Humberto kind of was like, why did I even go off on this tangent here? I should not have said basically bees can survive with a ton of mites, but they always try to throw in the viruses there at the end. Always try to mix that in there like they're two separate things. They're not really. you're not vaporizing your hives to kill viruses. You're not throwing amitraz or whatever the other crap is. You're not putting that in there to kill viruses. You're trying to knock mites down. You're trying, and it's not working. It might work temporarily, but you're never knocking them all down. And the way viruses work, if you have 5 mites in your hive, it's no different than having 5,000. A virus is a virus. They're in there. They've always been. Bees have always had viruses. So they keep trying to separate them. And you'll hear the weird, it's like mental gymnastics he tries to do here.
It's keeping me in mind what's hurting the bees, because I saw this and I'm sure, and people thought I was crazy. No, I saw high varroa and the bees were fine. And when I test those varroa in the bees, there is no virus circulating in that system. So always keeping in mind can the bee survive with varroa if we get rid of the virus?
Oh, certainly, I think so. I think
so too.
We can have one or the other. We can have virus or we can have varroa, but if we have them both together, that's a problem.
See, that choice is so stupid. Well, just you can have one or the other. There were viruses before there were varroa. There were viruses before varroa, and there are going to be no varroa. That you're never going to have a situation where the widespread population of varroa don't have some viruses in them. And any organism can adapt to viruses just as much as they can adapt to anything else. Just like humans adapt to every single flu virus that comes out every single year, or they die. Flu kills tons of people, but not enough that it really makes a big impact on the population. So 99% of people who get the flu, probably, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but they survive it. And they build the antibodies, and then they're done with it until it mutates. And then it seems like every year or a couple times a year, a new virus comes out that even humans are big, goofy, dumb, slow reproducing, long-lived organisms like a human can adapt to viruses. Then bees or any insect that's very quickly reproducing, has a short lifespan, has tons of populations, high population of them, can adapt just as fast or faster, probably much faster. So they're just making up a weird excuse to keep treating. This whole virus talk, they don't bring up this virus talk in South Africa or Cuba or South America where nobody treats. And you can't tell me that those viruses just don't exist there.
And think about this is before my time, but the thresholds early in varroa time, so in the early 90s, the thresholds were really quite high. And they've just been going down, down, down ever since. And
so there's the same argument I make all the time about the thresholds. Back when beekeepers and scientists were just inventing treatments or trying to figure it out, the threshold for treating was something like 30 to 50 mites per sample. I don't know if the sample's always been the same of a half cup or whatever, a quarter cup. I don't even know. I don't do counts. But it was way up there in the 30s, 40s. That was when you were supposed to get concerned and start using whatever the treatment was back then. And then it went down to 20 to 15 to 10. And now it's just, most people, if they see one, they're just shitting their pants, or they don't even care. They don't even test. They're just treating. So they come up with a weird explanation for it. Any dummy would know that the reason that the threshold would go down so low is because the mites are becoming resistant to the treatments. That's the only reason you would you would treat more and more, and with such a low threshold. If I say my garden, I'm counting whatever aphids or something, and I come up with a threshold, and then I treat my garden for those, and I suddenly have to treat it more and more for less and less aphids. It's a crystal clear sign of resistance. But that's not what these guys want to say. They want to, let's see, what do they say? I forget. Oh, probably the viruses.
And so it's really, of course, we're talking about Varroa, but it's really the viruses that they amplify, activate, and transmit that's really the issue. So, that's why it's super important that you not let those mite numbers get ahead of you, because when they do, the viruses get ahead of you. And then even if you knock the mites down, there's a legacy of viruses that are still there, even though the mites are not there. So,
wow. So, man, I didn't even notice that the first time I watched it. But what he just very clearly said to me is the mite numbers really don't matter, because the legacy of the virus that's there can be there whether the mites are there or not. So that was pretty clear to me. What they're trying to do is keep everybody treating for mites, period. That's just all they're trying to do. Especially Humberto. He's cashing in on every new little treatment that somebody asked him to make a video about.
So
yeah, that's why sometimes
be reactive to mites, it's probably not going to work out too good for you. You need to be proactive.
I feel if we should be focusing our attention in selection bees resistant to viruses instead of resistant to Varroa.
Wow. What one of the most that's so goofy. That's such a goofy thing to say. How would you have bees that are resistant to the thing that the mites bring, but somehow that's better than bees that are resistant to the damn thing bringing the viruses? Yeah, it's just really dumb. He's banking on his viewers really just gobbling up everything he says. Keep in mind, there's thousands and thousands of people who keep bees just like I do, who have bees surviving. All this fear mongering, all the fear mongering these guys are doing. My bees are surviving fine. The feral bees are surviving fine. And these other places where nobody treats, they're doing just fine.
Thought about that too. Like, instead of selecting for colonies with low mite numbers, what if we'd selected for colonies that were able to withstand high mite numbers or had low virus numbers? I think about, you've got that friend that works 70-hour weeks, smokes and drinks, and lives to 90. Like,
yeah,
so we select for that instead of.
There are exceptions, yeah. So yeah, just like the Jan is saying here, in the past with 5-10% we're able to overwinter. Now you can't, even with you. So it's
so strange. Even the Canadian beekeeper there is chiming in. He says when it was just Varroa, we wintered on 5 to 10%. I don't believe anything he says anyway, but yeah, they're all just jumping on the virus bandwagon. I'm not denying that viruses exist and make bees sick and can kill colonies, but only a dummy would claim that any organism can't be selected for resistance to viruses. It's just it's a normal everyday thing for every organism, plants, insects especially. I mean, if they can become resistant to pesticides focused on killing them, on killing like a high percentage of them, they can be selected to resist that. They can be selected to survive viruses, which aren't, which wouldn't be evolutionarily beneficial for viruses to kill everything that they infect. Yeah, these are people really hoping that their audience is stupid. Let's check a couple comments here. We got Alacia Harple. I do a low-tech mite test and then use a cheap macro lens. It goes on an iPhone. Put it in a board and then look. Didn't treat because it was not necessary. I mean, yeah, some people do. They think that way. I get that a lot in the Facebook group, and well, not in the Facebook group because I really won't allow it, but in other beekeeping groups, they'll someone will say, "Oh, I'm treating my whole yard and I'm not testing." So then a whole bunch of other people will comment, "Oh, well, you should only treat if there's a certain thing, a certain level." Well, to me, that's just, not trying to be mean about it. I mean, anybody can do whatever they want. As always, I gotta always stop myself there for a second. Do whatever the heck you want with your bees. But the idea of just treating when necessary is just treating. It stops selection. But not everybody wants to do treatment-free beekeeping, and that's totally fine. I'm just like this video and these people I'm talking about and all my videos, I comment about people just making weird representations of bees, beekeeping, and especially treatment-free beekeeping. But yeah, I mean, you for the commenter, Alacia, you can have high or low number for many, many different reasons. I actually learned something from my inspector a couple weeks ago. One of my colonies that has European foul brood, they had a good population, but they just look terrible, and I'm pretty sure they're going to die. But he's like, "Do you want to mite test this one?" And I thought, "Oh, they're going to have a ton of mites. They're sick." And then we tested them. They were very low. I think it only had one. And I didn't think of it, but it made sense. They were so sick, and their brood just wasn't maturing and hatching. So that's why they had an extremely low number. And so you could test a whole bunch of colonies and not really know exactly why one has a high level and one has a low. It's just not always that cut and dry. Let's see what else they have to say. There's only a couple minutes in this video.
Things are changing. It's always constantly changing. Varroa is getting more aggressive, or Varroa is getting different viruses. Or
I think it's all about the viruses. That's why the thresholds are continuing to fall.
Me too. And that's based on everything I tested in the past and see the progression since 2006, where I started to do this. I don't even know how many years it was before. Okay. What else we have here?
Wait, so this dude only started messing with bees 4 years before me? That's crazy. Supposedly he said he grew up on a beekeeping family. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding him. But I know he doesn't mess with bees because he's allergic to bees. So all his videos are just other people messing with bees and him just talking about bees. He's not in bees.
An interesting comment here. I met some beekeepers from America at the Apimondian in Chile, and they said they're still using the illegal Amitrax. When you mean America, you mean North America? The beekeepers that were in Chile, or South American beekeepers that were in Chile that are treating Africanized bees with Amitrax? I'm not sure what you mean here, Carlos Zevallos. So,
all right, so the structure of that sentence is confusing, even to me, and I'm a native English speaker, but it looks like it says, let's see. He met some beekeepers from America at the Apimondia that was in Chile. So I guess Apimondia had a Chile. Apimondia had a Chile. Chile had an Apimondia, and they said they were still using illegal Amitraz to fight mites. So this person is asking, he's just kind of throwing out some rumor there that beekeepers in America are using illegal treatments. But I think Humberto goes on to say something about people down there just don't treat. Let's see. I might have remembered it wrong.
So yeah, I know people in South America. Some people treat varroa, but in Brazil it's very rare. Only because they can't afford. So even the illegal, you need to spend money, and people don't have much money down there.
This is where I left the comment in that stream that poor countries somehow are past mites. They're just completely past mites. They don't even talk about them. They're not even an issue. And it was a result of them being poor and not having treatments. They had no choice but to let the bees survive on their own. And now they'd never talk about it. Whereas here in America, I didn't have bees that time, but here in America, we had the money to keep fucking with these mites forever, and we're just gonna mess with them forever because we just can't get out of the way of selection. Let me quickly see what Ty Kellius is asking here or saying. So what else do you recommend to help our hives if we're not blaming the issues we have with our hives having... Wait, what? So what else do you recommend to help our hives if we're not blaming the issues we have with our hives having issues to help? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what that question means entirely, but if you're saying what do I recommend to help our colonies, I mean, for somebody that's had bees for a while, who has experience messing with bees, first you got to choose: do you want to be a treating beekeeper that stays on the treating treadmill, follows all the fear mongering protocols, and just really just fucking hates beekeeping? Like, that's all I can think of when I see commercial beekeepers and these kind of tiny commercial beekeeper hobbyists on YouTube. They look miserable. They hate it. They're just, everything's a chore. They don't really enjoy themselves, and that's cool. That's how they make their money. They want to do that. I don't like going to my job either. That's why I don't make beekeeping my job. But I know that Ty Kellius here is a bee remover. Removes feral bees, removes regular bees that escape and move into somebody's thing. You never know what they are. I know he's a bee remover. I know he removes a ton of bees all the time. So he's already got the first step down. Don't buy bees. Like, I can never picture Ty Kellius buying some bees, like buying some packages. So help, the word help to me just is, I don't use it a lot when I'm talking about beekeeping. I go out and remove bees nowhere near the same way that Ty does, but I remove swarms, do swarm traps, do easy cutouts and things like that. I give them a good home in a good box, good equipment, protect them from mice, but I don't do treatments. I'm never going to. I'm never going to run out of bees. I always have too much honey. I don't even really want. I end up trying to sell as many as I can, giving bees away. So I don't see why. What do I need to help the bees with? Am I just trying to keep shitty bees alive? That's what treating to me is. These bees are struggling. They're going to die. I need to keep them alive. And then when I keep them alive, now suddenly they're survivors. I'm going to split them and sell them to other people, or allow other drones to just keep mating with everything in the neighborhood. So, man, that's just a long answer to, let's see, what else do I recommend? If you're removing bees, you're removing feral bees, keeping them, selecting for survival. That's it. Like, I don't know what else you want to do. Once helping gets involved, like doing kind of weird brood breaks all the time and trying to use essential oils or doing whatever. Well, now you're just getting into treating. So that's not what this channel is about. I wouldn't be able to answer that. I support anybody doing whatever they want to. Over here, I talk about treatment-free beekeeping. So I'd love to talk about it, but I can't talk about it. I've never treated bees in my life. And I think it's why bees suck. Hopefully that answers. If there's any other, if there's anything else you want to ask me, feel free.
Yes, whoever give you the local selection point is a genius. Thank you, Jeffrey. Oh, probably. Oh, he's in UK. Okay, so I have no idea what's happening with my friends in Europe. So 3,000
Yes,
masks.
that's a different.
That's a different
that's a-
thing. Yeah,
yeah. So that is a serious issue there.
yeah. That's different. Simon, thank you.
All right, I think that's it. I hope I don't get done with this live and go back and watch that and say, oh man, he said something really dumb after that, and I forgot to play. But yeah, I could pull up, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 videos I've seen in the past few weeks that were just hideous. You know, you have the repeat offenders, Fitbit beekeeping, and just you got the Scamologics channels trying to push a new treatment over here with really weird language, just strange. But maybe I'll pull them up next time. Let's see. Thanks for your response. Yeah, I hope it made any sense. Although I talked to Ty a few times about, some people who call me about beer moves that I just can't do. Like, I'm not going up in the 3rd floor busting out brick on a chimney. I'm not doing that for bees. I can get bees like so easily all day. Plus, so many of my bees survive. I just don't have the equipment to keep, all the bees that I remove or produce. But I've never talked to Mr. Kellyus about beekeeping. Like, what do we actually do with the bees? I have no idea what he does with bees. There was another guy that I talked to, used to do removals years ago, still does them, but I don't refer bee removals to him anymore because I think he is a friggin' robber. But I don't know what the hell he did with bees either. For all I know, he could have just cut them out, put them in a box, and threw them in the woods. I have no idea. But yeah, I don't refer bees to that beekeeper anymore. And I have noticed there's a few people on YouTube who do removals. They're not even beekeepers. Like, they know how to remove bees. Like, they'll get up there, they'll get the building apart, they'll get the roof wide open. They'll do all that stuff, but they don't keep the bees. They just either give them to beekeepers or maybe sell them real cheap. Like, that's just how overpopulated honeybees are. Beside in the United States, at least, and over here we're ruining them, and we're still and they're still overpopulated. All right, let's see, how long did I go for? 43 minutes. If there's any more questions, let me know. If not, I'll just cut it short. I don't like to go live too long. Make an unwatchable video. I don't need to be any more unwatchable than it already is. Let's see. Are any of these questions from? Oh, okay. So, wow, I didn't even realize it. I just realized that these comments were from Facebook, and the other ones were from YouTube. Wow, I didn't even know. I don't know how many people are watching over there, but let me change that. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me for 43 minutes while I freaking dunk on Humberto Christiani or Boncristiani. I don't know what his name is. Yeah, he totally ignored my comment over there, but that's what I expected. And I commented another one. He's totally ignoring that too. But all right, have a good night, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Take care.